Marxism-Leninism and the theory of settler-colonialism in the United States. I know some of y'all aren't going to like this, but it's an important discussion that we have to have. The purpose of the Marxist analysis is so that we can know how to make revolution, so that we understand the terrain of struggle, formulate correct strategy and tactics, and identify our friends and enemies. We must understand the contradictions at work in society and unite all who can be united if we want to win. So we need to be very careful and precise in that analysis. It is also important to challenge and correct theoretical errors that can lead us in the wrong direction. There's a tendency from some on the left to argue that the United States should be understood today as a settler-colonial state. Such a position may seem at first glance to be obvious. Many accept this position without careful consideration, simply taking its correctness as given. By automatically accepting the correctness of this position, these perhaps well-meaning revolutionaries fail to understand the ways in which this theory deviates from Marxism, and fail to consider its deeper implications for revolutionary strategy. Overall, this a relatively amorphous tendency with a lot of varying positions that don't always agree on the particulars. But so far as there is one, the basic argument from the proponents of this theory goes something like this. The United States remains today a settler-colonial state. People of European descent, regardless of their actual class position, are settlers, and are seen as continuing to benefit from and perpetuate a colonial system. In other words, the people of the United States are divided into two camps, with the colonized in one camp and the settlers in the other. Some even go so far as to say that this makes up the principal contradiction in the US. This is furthermore viewed as a fundamentally antagonistic contradiction. This ought to be contrasted with the Marxist-Leninist view, which sees the United States as an advanced imperialist country. Again, we see a division of U.S. society into two camps. On the one hand, there is the camp of the capitalists, and on the other, the oppressed and exploited masses of workers and oppressed nationalities. The principal contradiction is therefore between the capitalist class on the one hand and the multinational working class and its allies on the other, particularly the oppressed nations. Historical development is a law-governed process, and it is a law of capitalist development that this basic class struggle is the fundamental contradiction inherent to capitalist society. Skipping ahead, the article goes on to say, some points of historical development. We can all agree that the United States began as a settler-colonial project, founded on the genocide of Native Americans and the enslavement of Africans. We can furthermore agree that the legacy of this period of U.S. history persists. National oppression and the oppression of indigenous peoples continues. However, some people believe it's as simple as once a settler colony, always a settler colony. This is metaphysical thinking. While it is true that the legacy of settler colonialism in the United States certainly persists, the systems of oppression have not remained static. Dialectical materialism understands that the nature of things is defined by the contradictions inherent to it. Things aren't fixed, but always changing and developing according to these contradictions. This is true of capitalism in the US as it has developed as well. At different periods in US history, different contradictions have taken the principal determining role. As contradictions shift, so too does the terrain of struggle. Again, skipping ahead, as the capitalist mode of production developed, this transitional settler-colonial period had to give way to mature competitive capitalism, bringing forth new contradictions. These contradictions changed and developed enough that the United States underwent two bourgeois revolutions: the War of Independence, which overthrew the British colonial system, and the Civil War, which overthrew the slave system of the Southern planter class. Strategy for revolution. Revolution in the United States requires Marxist-Leninist analysis. Furthermore, it requires the leadership of the multinational working class organized in a Marxist-Leninist party. The misguided theory of settler colonialism in the United States has to be overcome if we are to accomplish this historic task. This erroneous theory of settler colonialism is an obstacle to building the strategic alliance that must be at the core of any revolutionary strategy that can hope to be successful. We have to base that strategy on the contradictions that are truly driving things forward in the real world. And that contradiction is between the capitalist class on the one hand and the oppressed and exploited masses of workers and oppressed nationalities on the other. We live in the belly of the beast, in the heart of the most vicious imperialist power in the world. We have to turn the whole order of things upside down. And if we're going to do that, then we have to accomplish several major tasks. Our central task is party building. We have to fuse Marxism-Leninism with the multinational working class and build a revolutionary communist party that can contend for power. And we have to build around that party a united front against monopoly capitalism, with the strategic alliance of the multinational working class and oppressed nationalities at its core. In order to do this, we have to be crystal clear in our analysis so that we can put that analysis to work. Only the multinational working class, allied with the liberation movements of oppressed nationalities, can overthrow the rule of the capitalists, smash the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie, build socialism, and end exploitation and oppression once and for all. If you'd like to read that article in its entirety for yourself, and I know that you do, please jump over to Twitter and give Fight Back News a follow at Fight Back News, news and views from the people's struggle. We welcome submissions, letters, and criticisms, edited by freedomroad.org. Listen to our podcast at Fight Back Radio. Solidarity, comrades.